Well, thank you, Terry, and thank you all so much for joining us here today. It's really exciting to be able to host this fireside chat on scaling success with AI with MaryAnn. Just during our discussion, a quick housekeeping note, we'll be collecting questions on slido.com using code Easton1. So please submit throughout the discussion, and then I'll select a few at the end that we can ask MaryAnn. And I heard we even have 5 extra minutes, which is always very exciting. But before we dive in with MaryAnn, I wanted to spend a couple minutes setting the context for our discussion. And I'm so excited to have her join us because the enterprise has really always been at the forefront of the AI revolution, and product management is really at the heart of that. They're really the folks bringing together the technology with the customer needs. And the enterprise may feel a little bit abstract to the folks in this room who may not have worked in it, but it powers so many of the aspects of our lives, from the tools we use every day in our work to the interactions we have with brands. Enterprise software is always going to be at the middle of that experience. And as Terry mentioned, AI is really leading the charge in AI. According to Gartner, the global AI market now is $200 billion, going to $2 trillion in 2030. And McKinsey is showing that already 2/3 of enterprises have adopted AI. So no company embodies this better than Salesforce, a company that really prides itself on sitting right at the middle of the interactions between companies and their consumers, where nothing is more important than AI. Again, as Terry mentioned, AI processes over 80 billion AI-powered predictions, which is an incredible number up, I'm sure, from a very small number just a few years ago. The Sales Cloud is helping customers like Crexi, which is a real estate platform. Their sellers spend 5 hours less doing tasks that are not talking to their customers. Their Service Cloud is enabling more timely, smarter, better routed interactions with customers every day. And this is all the beginning. With large investments like the $500 billion Stargate Fund and technologies like DeepSeek, AI is accelerating faster now more than ever. And it will reshape customer interactions and the expectations of the market. In sales, customers will expect AI to create perfectly crafted interactions at every single stage of the deal. In service, I think we'll all expect personalized experiences across all the brands that we interact with. And this will not be without challenges. So enabling this technology, enabling this change across the market is going to require data to be fully integrated. So sales, service, operations are all going to work out of the same database that AI has visibility across. As Terry mentioned, data transformation integration are now going to become an imperative, a must. They're no longer kind of a convenience. And companies are going to have to rapidly reposition to accommodate these changes. Organizations will have to respond. I think in all of our lives, we'll think on weekly or monthly cadences, no longer annual cadences. And everything about the way we work with our cross-functional partners will change. We'll be able to do more, the functional lines will blur, and I'm sure as knowledge workers, we'll all learn how to collaborate better with our new AI partners. And so, really in this discussion, we'll really explore and go deep with MaryAnn on how AI is changing the enterprise technology landscape. We'll see how Salesforce is using AI to transform sales and marketing, and we'll learn the strategic decisions MaryAnn and team have been making in driving AI in this new world. But before we dive in, let's hear a little bit about the latest Salesforce innovation, Agentforce, with a quick video.
Salesforce. For 25 years, we've been a force for sales, a force for service, a force for marketing, for commerce, for analytics. Well, starting now, we're also your agent force. A force for humans with AI agents to drive customer success together.
Agentforce is not about AI replacing people. It's about how do we enhance employee experience to deliver better customer experience.
We're not just talking about a business evolution. We're talking about an agent revolution. Agents with the power to act on behalf of you and your business. Agents with context to make customer relationships more personal. Agents with the ability to do it all intelligently, accurately, and autonomously. Because when you've got trusted AI agents at work, your business can succeed at scale.
Agentforce gives us the ability to deliver that high-touch, personalized service to everybody.
You can improve the communication between supply and demand, between patients and doctors, employees and employers, clients and customers. You see, this isn't another basic bot. No, this is a bona fide Agentforce A team. This is using data to reach every possible customer with exactly the right message, then taking immediate action so they have exactly the right experience. This is augmenting and elevating humans to new heights while always staying grounded in trust.
It will help humans become more human.
Welcome to a force of meaningful and effective intelligence. Welcome to a force for purpose, for trust, and for good. Welcome to Agentforce, to what AI was meant to be.
Very cool. I'll tell you what, enterprise software's gotten a lot cooler than when I started in the field. But I really could not be more excited, even after that video, to introduce the person who's making many of these innovations a reality, MaryAnn Patel. She has her bachelor's in computer science from the University of Oregon and her MBA from our very own UCLA Anderson school. She spent the last 13 years at Salesforce and is now leading their AI transformation as the SVP for Sales Cloud, their flagship product. This product enables sales teams around the world to stay coordinated, productive, and connected with their customers. So that all being said, MaryAnn, thank you so much for joining us today. Welcome, MaryAnn. Welcome. Oh, grab a seat here. I love these. We need an actual fire for these fireside chats.
That'd be amazing.
Thank you so much for joining us. I'm sure the audience is so excited to hear what you have to say, but just to help ground us, help us understand, what does Sales Cloud do and how might folks in this room be interacting with it without even knowing?
Sure. Sales Cloud is the product that Salesforce started with. We enable sales reps to do what they do best. So figure out what they're going to sell, who they're going to sell to, forecast their sales. Many of the organizations that you know and use Salesforce. So like when you walk into an AT&T store and you are buying a cell phone and they're like, oh, let me pull up your account, that's Salesforce. If you are at the Disney theme parks and you get a tour and they're pulling up, your lunch reservations, that's Salesforce. If you happen to be at the Gucci store and buying something that I don't buy, you could also, you will be using Salesforce. Those retailers are using it. Saks uses it. Southwest uses it for service. Salesforce is a pervasive tool that a lot of companies use. And also, if you think of like the hot AI startups, they use Salesforce as well to figure out who to sell to. Peloton uses Salesforce to track their customers. So, every company that you probably think of uses Salesforce. It's just at the end of the day, helping them do their job better.
Yeah, amazing. Thanks for that introduction. It is amazing how pervasive it is. I think I've used Salesforce in almost every job I've ever had as well.
Yeah.
So it also means it's been around, not to date myself, but it's been around for a while. So tell me, what was the first step in the AI transformation from a company that's been around for a while, so pervasive, to kind of lead this AI revolution?
Yeah, we started investing in AI in about 2014. I had the luck and honor of working on one of our first acquisitions that we did. We did RelateIQ, which was essentially a small CRM that did things like automatically capturing your email and logging it to your record, making it easier for reps to do their job. Saying like, hey, Cy, did you know that you and Terry both know MaryAnn? Maybe you can ask Terry for an introduction. At the time, those things were earth-shattering. Today, they sound sort of boring. But at the end of the day, we really looked at what was the jobs to be done, the crux of the problem that people were trying to solve with these tools, and how we could do it better and faster. We also then acquired a company that did call transcription and thinking about summarizing calls. Again, it's really about let's let sales reps do the thing they love the best, which is sell, and let's build technology that just makes them better at what they do. So we still are on the exact same journey of that. It's just the technology has changed.
Yeah, I love that you were looking so far ahead, but it's funny. I'm sure a lot of it was intentional, but some of it probably was also serendipitous. Can you help us kind of understand how those two forces interplayed over this time?
Sure. Everything we did was perfectly intentional.
Of course.
We knew exactly when AI was going to transform. When I first started at Salesforce, I didn't know anything about CRM. And I joined, and we were basically helping sellers pass business card information to each other so they could get the right contact at another company and share contact information. And we were just trying to help them do their job better. We were like, oh, wouldn't it be amazing if we could automatically scan their business card? Like, wow, if only that technology existed. And we've just continued to think about what are those investments. And I would say the one thing that Salesforce does really, really well is because we are a subscription business. We only make money when our customers make money, want to buy more, want to do more. And so our company has grown with our customers' growth. And so we spend a tremendous amount of time with our customers. Customer success is one of our top core values. And so we spend a lot of time listening. What are the problems that you're trying to solve? What are the transformations you really need to drive? And that's driven us to acquire companies that help us integrate multiple tools that people were using with Salesforce, or drive an analytics platform that allowed them to tell the signals that they were building. And over time, we were managing a lot of data, but a lot of the data that we needed was outside of Salesforce. There are banks like Wells Fargo that use Salesforce, and they store that information in an IBM mainframe that was invented many, many, many decades ago. And there are companies that are storing things in Snowflake and in AWS, and we need to be able to connect all of that. So we built a data layer that we originally thought was for marketing. And then we realized everybody needed it. And that became the underlying data foundation that we have. And then as we were building agents, as you just saw, we needed to build another technology layer on top of it to be the agentic platform. And so there are certain values that have driven us, like be platform first, allow customers to customize, allow them to bring in their own tool set, which have really been values since the beginning of the company and have really allowed us to make the right investments. They weren't all right, but I think we've just been constantly listening to our customers, constantly getting feedback and thinking about how to evolve as a result.
That's amazing. And it's a great point of positioning. We talked about data integration being an imperative. Well, Salesforce sounds like already there in 2014.
Yes.
So we fast forward almost a decade since then. What does the state of AI look like today?
The state of AI is everything that you see in
Well, let's start with for Salesforce specifically.
Yes, but for Salesforce specifically, as you saw from that video, we are all in on agents. We went from predictive AI. So for me, that was like helping you predict what your forecast was. What is the opportunity score of this deal? How likely is it to close? To then generative, where I was helping you draft an email and a first draft or maybe a marketing campaign that you were using. And now we're thinking about agents. The amazing thing that we've also been able to do with this transformation is we have been a software company. We are the second largest software company in the world behind Microsoft, but we are now also in the digital labor force world now. So our total addressable market as a company has vastly increased with this pivot, because now we're thinking about how do I enable you to have a entry-level seller who is a teammate who your sellers are working with. That person is researching who at a company you should reach out to, drafting that. We now have search that allows us to take large amounts of unstructured data, like what's on your pricing sheet, what's in your website, what are the communications that you're having? And we can actually answer your questions autonomously. And then when they're finally ready to talk to someone, we can automatically schedule that meeting for them, and then we hand it off to a human seller. So I've now created a huge productivity win for my customers. So it's not just about transforming the technology that runs their business, but also how we run it. And we've done this at Salesforce. We pride ourselves on being customer zero. So we have agents running open enrollment for benefits, doing our expense reports, doing finance. Our legal team is using it on drafting clauses. Like every single part of our company has really embraced what AI can do. And I think Salesforce has always done a really good job democratizing technology. And I think we're doing a really good job showing how AI can help make all of our amazing employees even better at the work that they're doing.
Amazing. If I never have to fill out another expense report again, I will be so delighted.
Oh, amazing. Deep amounts of delight.
I'll leave some flowers by the Salesforce Tower when I pass by there.
Sounds good.
But speaking of that, what's been the biggest area of impact you've seen among all these agents? Because the space is so vast. There's obviously so much to be done over so many years. But right now, where are you seeing the biggest kind of ROI and impact for your customers?
Our customers see a lot of ROI here, what I was just talking about with Agentforce, because we've really taken the investment they've made for years with out-of-the-box applications that are really easy for their business people to use, right? These are not technologists. I think we've been a really good job at using low code and no code. So you interact with a tool, you don't even know that it's maybe Salesforce, and taking that tool, applying automation behind the scenes, so automatically routing that expense report to the right person, getting it approved by finance, doing all the SOX compliant behind the scenes, and then applying AI on top of that to make it all the better. And so for us, we've really thought about how do we help every part of the chain.
Yeah, and that's an amazing highlight too. Like helping technology really connect with people who are not technologists is going to be an incredible unlock for, I think, society as a whole.
Yes.
It'd be very exciting.
100%.
But speaking of that, you also mentioned, you're thinking about this as a little more than software. It's almost like part of the labor market.
Yes.
How are you seeing kind of humans and AI collaborating in this early phase of our relationship?
I mean, in this relationship, obviously, you collaborate with AI every day when you're, auto-completing on your phone, which maybe some of you are doing right now. All of us are interacting with it, and we sometimes don't realize it, right? When Google is telling us, oh, you should take the 405 instead of this other freeway, that is AI talking to you. And I think we're still at that phase where humans need to be in the loop. Salesforce believes that business is the greatest platform for change. And I think we're deeply focused on how do we make sure that AI doesn't displace humans, but it augments and becomes a coworker. And so for us, that's incredibly important. And I don't think that any of you want to trust your whole life to a black box and just trust whatever's going to happen, right? You want it to augment you, make it be the best version of yourself and help you along the way. And that's really where we're focused.
Yeah, building that trust is it's almost like any new colleague, by the way. Right? Someone new comes in your team, you want to learn how to work with them, and AI is just kind of this interesting new colleague that is also changing really quickly and can learn really fast.
100%. And I think it's also helping people, like, for example, at some of our customer service agents, if you think about service reps who are like changing a password or doing that work, it's really hard, it's really tedious, it's very time consuming, but now we're able to take that cost center and we're able to make it a revenue center, because now I can have AI doing all of that for me, but then I can say like, hey, Cy, I saw that you really love to surf. Did you know we have this new thing? Are you interested in adding this to that exchange that you're doing? And so then we're able to really transform what these people are doing. And I think we're enabling employees to grow and learn new skills, but also businesses to make more money.
Very cool. Very, very dangerous, right? Like knowing your preferences. Because I know also Salesforce does a lot in e-commerce now as well. It's a space I'm familiar with. It's incredible how much data is out there about all of us that can be tied together into this like amazing experience that can recommend products and really make the world feel personalized to you as a person. And I kind of think about this world where every interaction with brand, every interaction with your workspace feels personalized, and we're taking all the kind of tireless toil work out of it, like filling out expense reports or, I don't know, all the other administration you need to do your job.
For sure. I also think people used to think it was creepy. When I first started, we were automatically capturing your email. Like, what are you going to do with my email? Are you reading it? Like, what happens here? And now people are like, please take all of this, summarize it for me, tell me what I need to go focus on. And so I think also our mindset of what we want technology to do for us and understanding that it can actually be really helpful to summarize my calls and take notes. And I always tell a rep, like, do you want to be really attentive on that sales call? Have perfect notes, send an immediate follow-up, and look like you are truly the best listener, relationship builder in the world, then great, use this technology, right? It's not about it replacing you, it's allowing you focus on the thing you do best.
Yeah, I think that's true. And we've done that in my experience. We do every interview, every sales call, of course, with consent of the participant. But people seem very comfortable with it now. And I think it's a very serendipitous advantage Salesforce had in that enterprises are uncomfortable providing data to one provider, except if you're the provider they already trust, who spent all of this time and energy integrating all this data, and they're like, yes, please turn it on right now.
Yeah. And I would say like one of the things that I didn't realize when I joined Salesforce, like I loved the touchy-feely values, like business is the greatest platform for change. We have over 20,000 companies who have joined our Pledge 1000 pledge, where we started 1% of our time, 1% of our equity, and 1% of our product is given for free. So that was a tenet at the founding of Salesforce. And that has allowed us to give away billions of dollars and hundreds of millions of hours of time. And those values were great to me, but now I understand that like trust is our number one value. It enables us to sell product to everyone, for them to trust that we know that their data is not our product. We're not selling it to other people. We're not using it to make their competitors better. And so it's enabled us to really take an interesting posture during this AI time where people feel a lot more comfortable with us having access to their data because they know that we're using it for good and not evil.
Yeah, and that focus on the customer problem, I think Terry mentioned kind of mental software. This is something just keeps coming up in our conversation where this focus Salesforce has and MaryAnn has on understanding your customer, focusing on their problem. It sounds like that drove so much of what you're doing around integrating different parts of the stack, marketing, sales, services, all into one platform. It's all really what you're hearing from the voice of the customer.
Yeah, I mean, you and I are both in product because
Yes.
we love talking to customers, figuring out what is that problem. Like, if you had asked someone many years ago what they wanted, they would have just said a faster horse, right? It's not a car. And what we love about being product managers is we love listening to all the feedback and synthesizing it and thinking about what is the way that I would solve this as a platform, as a tool, as a system to really help people improve. And that I think is the best. And I think right now with AI, all of us need to go back to basics and really be there with our customers, see how these tools are transforming what they're doing and thinking about, hey, is there a different way that I could think about this problem? And also seeing what they've uncovered. Like nobody in this world knows anything entirely about AI. We all have to learn from each other, see what's standing. And I think that's really the power of this time is we're all totally redefining how work is happening in every single company in the world. And it's a really exciting time to just be back to what's the problem?
Absolutely, it's very true. Technologies might change, but problems stay the same.
Yes.
I've been thinking about my mom was a seller back in the day, and she also complained about submitting sales reports and keeping records. And I'm like, that problem hasn't changed in decades.
Exactly.
Her career, my career, the same problem exists, and technology just keeps making it easier and easier. So on that topic, how are you seeing building these AI capabilities differ from traditional software? How is it affecting your process as a product leader?
I have an engineering background, so I would say just from a sheer engineering standpoint, we have to think about the core tenets of what are we building? Did it work? And how do we know that it worked? All of that is different now. We don't really always know exactly how this technology is going to be used. We have to see what's landing, what makes sense. And then, it was really easy before when you would write code, if I click this button, does this window open? But now it's okay, when I sent that email to someone, did that listener, that consumer, actually find that email to be really useful such that it made them want to then call this salesperson again? And is that actually better than what the salesperson could have just drafted on their own? And is the outcome that I am driving the one that makes the most sense? And then how do I test that at scale, right? Test automation frameworks are all about checking code to making sure when you do this, that this happens. But what is this that you are testing, right? Passing a test is incredibly hard. So if you think about it, the fundamental dynamics of everything related to engineering has now changed. And for businesses, the goal of what can I do for my customer, that hasn't changed, but they've really opened their aperture in terms of what is the art of the possible. And so I think for all of us, we have to take an extremely more iterative approach that we are doing with much tighter feedback loops and every single day testing something, talking to someone, seeing what's working and what's not. And I think we all need to tactically understand it a lot more than we used to. Mm-hmm. I think there used to be PMs who could sort of think about things at an abstract level, but now I think we have to really know what we're doing.
I love it. Again, we're back to basics. And I love the culture of Salesforce too. Just you see the executives out in the field all the time. I hear from Mark Benioff all the time, which means that he's just out there talking to customers, talking to people on the ground all the time, which is really, really cool. So with that being said, what are some of the challenges you see? Things are moving faster. You have to be more attached to the hip with the customer. That's got to come with some new things you have to learn and understand. Your teams have to learn and understand.
Yeah, I was actually just talking to my team the other day. I think, as we think about challenges holistically as leaders in a time of AI, one of the challenges is thinking about the workforce that you have, right? I hired people who were really good at their job when I hired them. Being a PM is totally different now than it was before. And so are they able to be really nimble thinkers who are on their feet, who understand these topics at a technical level? Are they still working on the kind of stable metrics of our business? Are they really focused on adoption, context? How do we drive these things forward? I think that, we have to get back to true first principles now. And for all of us, what does it mean to be an accountant? What does it mean to be a lawyer? What does it mean to be a marketer? we are thinking about how to shift our entire workforce in this age of AI and help them along this change, right? It's not about leaving anyone behind, but it's like, how do I take the best of what they do and make sure that they can be even better prepared? I think that's an incredibly hard challenge for us.
Yeah, and it sounds like also an opportunity where it sounds like when you mention metrics, they're almost being driven in closer alignment to the customer, because the customer may not know, hey, what's the best way to write this email? Actually, I want an agent to figure it out for me, right?
Yes, exactly. I think metrics are more important than anything. And I think that now, for the first time, I would say all of the different functions in companies are more aligned around the same metric, right? That adoption metric is what is driving your revenue. It's what's driving your attrition rates. It's what's driving your ability to hit your margin. And so in that sense, I actually feel like we are able to like break down those traditional silos because so much of our business is changing. We can't operate the way that we did before. And so it's a great opportunity to really focus on what are those North Star metrics. And I cannot tell you how many meetings I'm in where we talk about adoption with people who are many layers above and many layers below and in every single function. And it's great that we all have embraced that beginner's mind of saying like, none of us know the right answer. Let's go talk to our customers. Let's figure out how to deliver the most value for them and make that the North Star metric.
Yeah, so your teams really have to grow in their empathy and really understand the day-to-day tasks and lives of those customers. Is it also changed, you mentioned you have an engineering background, how your team works with their engineering counterparts and other parts of the business internally?
100%. I think that product at least used to be sort of people who were engineers and people who weren't engineers. And everyone was sort of the same. Now I feel like you have to be curious, like tech curious, tech fluent. I don't think that people have to be engineers to be PMs, but I think that you have to be able to ask a question about why is it working this way? Okay, what are the factors that we are using? What's the data that we use to test it? What's the assumption that we're using? What are we putting into the prompt? And just really, really, really be curious. And I think that we used to rely, like I will tell PMs, your engineers know more about what they are doing than you will ever know. But now I would say our engineers don't necessarily know more, and we're all learning together. And so I think it's also helping us teach other functions that curiosity, right? Research and insights has always had it. Design has always had it. Marketing has always had it. But now everyone needs to be tech curious. And I think it's just been a great transformation.
Yeah, it's cool. I'm sure because Salesforce has got to be transforming internally at the forefront of all their technology. You get to see kind of the future of work happen right there today.
Yes.
What struck you most about how people are working, especially outside of the core technology functions? Like, what do you see that's like very different that maybe you didn't expect?
I think I've always been comfortable with like, okay, some people speak engineering, some people don't. I think the tech divide, even at like, we pride ourselves on being like at the forefront of technology, constantly disrupting ourselves. We have a new company basically every year that we are at that has a different focus, different products, different messaging. But I think seeing the tech divide was something that I did not expect to be so clear with AI, and seeing people's hesitation and whether they thought it was actually going to change and how much of an impact it was going to have on functions that had nothing to do with engineering. I think that's been really interesting. We were doing some trainings with executives, and we had our chief accounting officer and the CMO for Sales Cloud, the GM for manufacturing, and one of our engineering leaders who's been leading the data and AI transformation. And we were talking about how do we transform as a company. And the chief accounting officer was like, I am usually never in these conversations, but just being in this conversation shows me how much accounting is going to change forever, how much we need to think about our books and how we can rely on technology and what it can actually do for us. And I need to take a different approach. And so in that sense, the future of work is really interesting to watch it unfold before my eyes, and thinking about how we help customers along the way. That's a lot of what we do is, how do I help you transform your business? Yeah,
and do it really quick. It sounds like once you're on board, you can accelerate. But if you wait, that gap is going to grow exponentially over time as the technology progresses. But got to be a challenging place as a leader as well, because I think as a leader, we always try and provide direction and stability. And if things are moving slow, actually it makes our jobs really easy, right? Just like
super easy.
Point in the direction, let them go. If things are changing monthly, weekly, How do you adapt your leadership style? How do those conversations with other leaders change to set directions for your team on such a fast pace?
I think that, the common critique of leaders is that they under-communicate. And the biggest fallacy of communication is that you believed that it happened. I said this thing, so therefore you heard me. And I think that now more than ever, it's so clear that we need to spend all of our time communicating with and to all of our other functions, all of our teams. I spend more time talking about strategy, sharing my why, sharing what I'm concerned about, hearing what they are concerned about, thinking about how we message it. Actually spent a week in India where I would say 4 out of the 5 days I was there with my engineering teams, I talked about mindset shifts. I talked about Jeffrey Moore's performance zones and how we have shifted from being in a performance zone to an incubation zone and a transformation zone. How do we run our business differently? How do we grow talent differently? That is really where we're spending a ton of this time. And I think, when we all believe that we're doing it for the right reason, with the right North Star, and we're really focused on just how do we make our customers' lives better, it's a lot easier, but you just got to explain the why a lot. And all of us see it from a different perspective. Mm-hmm. So I have no idea what I'm doing either. Yeah. And so being able to have those conversations across functions has been really helpful. And so I spend a lot of my time outside of my team with customers just to make sure that that loop is there.
It's really important. And it goes back again to thinking about upgrading that mental software. It sounds like changing that mindset, getting ready for accelerated change is one thing we should all be deeply thinking about. On that topic, though, I'd love to hear your take on kind of what are the largest transformations you see over the horizon? Say we look 10 years out, not that any of us could actually predict, but what are you maybe excited about? What are you looking forward to?
I think that I'm excited that right now there's no one in the world who knows what it will look like in 10 years. If you think back to any moment in your life, like when you were 5 or 10, there was probably someone who could be like, okay, in 10 years, cities are going to look like this and technology is going to be this way. Truly nobody knows. So I'm not going to answer that. But what I will say is what I'm really excited about is if you think of all of the unstructured knowledge in the world, conversations, content, images, all of the different things that make a business run, I think we now have the technology where those things can come together and we can make every function better with the knowledge of other functions. It used to be that accountants got better by talking to accountants and engineers got better by talking to engineers. And now I think businesses will be better because the functions will be talking and we can all learn from each other. So that really excites me. Multimodal is also really interesting. If we think about, a lot of our work used to be text-based. Now it's okay, if I show you an image and I'm explaining this experience and I'm plugged into all the telemetry of my business, what's actually happening, right? I rely on customers to tell me what's happening. If I had the telemetry of knowing not only how the technology was doing, but how their customers felt about that technology, it would give me way more signals to do my job. So I'm really excited about that. And then I'm also really excited about thinking about what the interfaces of the future look like, right? You and I have been through the mobile revolution, we went through the internet revolution.
Fancy iPads.
Exactly, fancy iPads, things being connected. And, now it's there's a lot of people who are UIs are going away forever. We're talking to the ether. But, I think people like to touch and feel the things that they are interacting with. And so I think it will allow us more flexibility of, are the applications in the future things that are more fluid, where you pull up the application, it knows the workflow that you're doing, it helps you complete the job versus making you go to your workday to update your HR record and then submit your expense report on Concur and then send your email in Outlook, right? I think the sort of connective tissue will be more seamless. And ultimately, now that we have everything in our life on a phone, we know that everything can be connected. It makes us more productive. I think we have the ability to really unlock a lot of people's time and get them to do what they love at work and reduce the things they don't like at work. So those are things that excite me.
I'd be very excited. When I was a sales rep, I used to print maps out and bring them with me to drive to locations. So Huge evolution in that respect. I've been there.
Sales reps like you before. They'd
Yes.
be like, I just
Old
want
one.
to draw a circle
Yep.
and be able to map where to go, optimize my route. And
Yep.
like, now we've built that technology, but I remember when they showed me that, I was like, that'd be great too, but
Incredible. Yeah,
not going to happen.
I take that when I get my flying car, right?
Exactly.
So just kind of last question, speaking primarily to our Anderson community, we'd love to hear your perspectives on students preparing for AI-driven roles. I think Terry mentioned this is now an expectation for almost everyone coming to the workforce.
Totally.
So what advice would you give to current and maybe recent grads?
So I always tell people there are 3 things that I hire for that I think make you successful. One is curiosity. Our job as PMs is to be curious about, why is this water bottle shaped this way? How can you ship it most efficiently? How do you price it? What is the thing that makes people want to go buy it, right? Like deep, deep, deep curiosity and following it to the nth degree is something that will serve you in any role, any function, any job for the rest of your life. So that's 1. 2 is drive. I think drive and belief, like belief in yourself that you are enough. The skills that you have are going to help you get there. And if you connect with the right people, have the right discussions, have the right curiosity, that you can go do that, because you will then have a bigger box. Like I always tell people, I hire them for a job and they'll be like, I am a senior product manager on Sales Cloud. But I was like, ultimately, if you want to make the best decision for the company, your box needs to be a Mark Benioff size box. You need to be the founder and CEO of a transformative tech company, and you will make the best decision for our company, our stock, our customers, and the value that you're delivering. And then the last is self-awareness. I think that EQ is probably the most underappreciated skill, and something that I definitely did not focus on enough when I was in business school. And we talk about it as soft skills, but if you have great self-awareness, you know what you do well, you know what others do well, you know how to fit into a team. I always tell my product managers, great PMs are like water. You know how to fill in the cracks on any team and lift all the ships. So maybe today you're a designer. Tomorrow you're an AI prompt engineer. The next day you are a marketeer. The next day after that you are a seller. And maybe that's like my life, meeting to meeting to meeting, right? And so I really think that self-awareness is probably the most important, because you'll also know when you're pushing back on something, resisting, right? Everything is changing. Every organization you're going to go into, the answer is they don't know for the future, for the roadmap, for what's next. And you are there to help them figure that out. And so if you have those 3 things, I think you'll succeed in an era before AI, but now especially in a post-AI era, because there's just so much change. We can't believe that someone with a big title who's many levels up knows the answer. They truly don't know the answer. You spend a lot more time thinking about that problem than they do. And so show up with an opinion, show up with curiosity and drive.
I love that analogy. I'm going to steal that. Filling all the cracks so we can raise all the boats. I'm going to remember that one. So with that being said, let me move to questions. I'll read off the Slido here, trying to multitask a little bit. So one of the most popular questions always comes up is, what are the risks that AI and generative AI innovation in software pose, and could they disrupt the SaaS business model? And how is Salesforce preparing for this?
So every business is always being transformed, and that's okay. I think that the people who think about SaaS as going away forever, like, oh, it's just a database where you update information. So is the whole world and everything that you do, right? If we don't create and update information, things do not happen. So I think SaaS is here to stay. People are always going to need that function. I think the tools, the interfaces they use might change, right? Like we now use Slack all the time for everything. Many years ago, I had to log into a UI and click a bunch of things, right? Yeah. That's fine. The interfaces, I think, will be different. I think that the other thing that we are really focused on is how do we, again, continue to be at that bleeding edge of what our customers really need. Our customers have been telling us for years, we need better automation. You have all our data. Tell us what we should be doing. Give us these insights. And so I think it's honestly, like the video showed, like it's what AI was meant to be, what people have always thought AI would give them. And now we actually have the technology for it. So I will tell you, I'm probably the person who's most excited about generative AI, because now people understand why they need Salesforce, why they need their data in one place, why they need digital transformation in more functions than just engineering, and like how we can really help them connect all of the different parts of their business. And I think like ChatGPT has been really good in helping people understand like, oh, AI can like be my meditation coach and help me figure out a workout routine and plan my kid's birthday trip. And so like, I think it's actually made people understand the power that technology has always had to transform their businesses. And what I really love is when customers who aren't in tech be like, oh, I finally get it. And then they're suddenly giving me use cases, right? I can show an agent builder to a recruiter, and then they're like, employee success head, like, oh, can it do this? And then I'm like, yes, let's go do it together. And you know, our platform, our low-code platform enables them to just touch it, write some English, get out a result that for them, they would have been so far removed from before. And so I think it actually makes other functions a lot more powerful than they used to be.
And that's such an exciting moment. You're almost giving these functions magic that they never had before. And it's that light that goes up in their eyes and the joy they get. The other way I think about it is like, do we all have problems in our lives still that technology could solve?
Maybe.
Yes, probably. Okay, so there's going to be an endless supply of more technology needed. And I think if you look at the enterprise, even just that simple, MaryAnn said, you know, we just need to get the data in one place and integrate it. I mean, that's a battle I think Salesforce has been leading for 20 plus years. And I don't know, halfway solved, less than halfway solved. Like it's just
much more solved. But honestly, people used to be so resistant. They were like, you don't need it. Like, it's really not going to make that much difference if the sellers don't know that there are cases and customer service complaints. And I would always just be like, you know, I really think if we just brought this data together, everyone would be better. And now, honestly, I think that AI has delivered that message. And so we can spend the time on what is the value? How do we go unlock it? How do we do it quickly? You know, we're building POCs in like 2 weeks with large retail banks that they can immediately roll out. Like that is transformative, right? A Salesforce implementation does not need to be like a project. It can be something that you do in a skunkworks sort of way.
And just for context, what is a typical CRM implementation at a bank?
Well, because Salesforce is so easy to implement, it's very, very fast. But if we think about like large transformations, like we right now are completely redoing our Salesforce implementation at Salesforce. So like we use Salesforce to run our events, to book meeting rooms, to get like legal reviews. When we go on vacation, like everything runs on Salesforce. And for us, this project, we're like redoing our billing as a result and all of these other things. It's been like a 2-year transformation. And that's because we've connected every single function. Like as an employee, you must use Salesforce to do your job. But like an enterprise needs something like that. And to be able to have a bank roll out a tool that they developed in 2 weeks is like truly unheard of. It would have been like a fireable offense before.
Absolutely. I just want to emphasize that because I've done a bunch of work with banks as well. Typically, we think in multi-year cycles.
Multi-year, So
2 weeks is like
3 to 5 year transformation for this retail bank.
It's like 2 weeks to have a sales call is typically what I expect, not to actually deploy the technology. And when they see that, it's just an amazing thing. So I'll go to the second question is, when salespeople have all these amazing tools, if they're all empowered by AI, how are they going to differentiate and compete against each other?
It's not about competing against each other. At the end of the day, the reason why you were a great sales guy is probably different than why your mother was a great saleswoman. And I think like what AI allows is it allows maybe you are a great relationship builder and she really understands the technical details. And now you understand the technical details better. And she also has more notes on the relationship and the signals that she should be watching for and what's happening in other parts of the organization. So I don't think it's about competing. I think it's just about helping people be the best versions of themselves.
So AI is kind of helping us be more human, help us emphasize what kind of makes us unique.
Exactly.
Less expense reports.
Less expense reports, TPS reports.
No, I like that. And so someone else asked, regarding the shift in focus from predictive to agentic products and services, what drove that decision? How did that shift happen from, Salesforce thinking, hey, I want to tell you opportunity sizing, lead scoring, all the way to, I'm going to help you write emails?
At the end of the day, people have been asking me for my whole career at Salesforce, can you just do this for me? That's what the promise of technology has always been. And so again, when we listen to our customers, what they really ask for, right, is if you know this information, I want a well-crafted email. I want to make sure that the reps don't have to think about it. You know, if you think about a typical sales rep, they are moving company to company. You know, our new reps will sometimes get like a new account every single year. So they have to learn everything about the company, everything they've ever done, build a relationship, go sell a product. And then we also have like 600 new products we launch all the time. Knowing all of that is an overwhelming task to ask for a singular sales rep. And so for us, we were just like, okay, what does the rep really want to go do? What are the things that we could go make easier? And going from predictive to generative to autonomous has been there, but I think all of them need to be there, right? You need embedded, assisted AI helping you every morning, being like, hey, you forgot this thing, this person's very mad, and here are all of the leads that I've given you last night. It's not that I'm trying to do your job for you, but do you like clicking on everyone's LinkedIn profile?
I do not.
Reading everything that's there, taking notes, and then remembering which one was probably the right one.
No, that's amazing. I remember doing much of that. So really appreciate your time. In the effort of helping upgrade all of our mental software, I want to kind of review 2 or 3 takeaways kind of we talked throughout this amazing discussion. There's so many insights that I'm even kind of taking mental notes myself. You know, one that really, MaryAnn, I think you highlight so well is just focusing on the customer job to be done. These technologies will change. We know they'll change. We don't even know how they'll change, but we can predict the problems will likely stay the same. So if we understand those well, we stay focused on those, especially as product leaders, it will really help serve us and our customers very well in perpetuity. The second is the rate of change is accelerating. We're moving to a place where none of us really know. We're living in a state where there's accelerating and guaranteed change. And so we need to adapt our mental software to be curious, to adapt to it, to be ready for what's next and eager for it, because I think there's so much to be excited about. And then the last is really, you know, a focus on the learning. You know, there will be wins, there will be losses, there'll be things that happen, but the learnings will continue for us to power that curiosity and that next generation of work we do in that unpredictable future. So let me just conclude by, MaryAnn, saying thank you so much for joining us. It was invaluable to hear about your experience and see kind of what Salesforce has been up to. And I'm personally very excited to see what you and the Salesforce team do in the future to help drive, you know, the future of AI forward. So thank you so much. Please join me in thanking MaryAnn.
Thank you.